we represented a big social media person who was very, very successful in a lawsuit. And this lawsuit was multi-million dollars at stake. And the contracts that were underlying that deal, might as well have been written by my 9-year-old.
As entrepreneurs, man, we love to be scrappy. We love to figure things out. I can figure this out. I can get, a tax program, and I can take care of my own accounting and bookkeeping,
Sure.
et cetera. And I'll save myself time, or I'll save myself money. You won't save yourself time. And I have this is big sister advice here. You're not going to save yourself money either. Like, hire a great bookkeeper or a great CPA or both. And they're going to work in conjunction with your attorney. And then you've got like the ultimate foundation. It is worth every penny to have that peace of mind, to be able to sleep at night and just know, like, I don't have to worry about the tax laws. I don't have to worry about where things go and how I'm protected, because I'm paying somebody to do that for me.
Yeah, 100%. And you're right. It's so hard, I think, oftentimes when people are starting their own projects and they're passionate about them, to delegate that to somebody else, because you feel, I could do it. It's my baby. I can do it better. When it comes to things like tax and legal and just making sure that your foundation is strong, you've got to be prepared, I think, to step back a bit and make those decisions that set you up for success in the future. And again, you won't regret it. It's hard sometimes, I think, and I had these conversations a lot. I never try to talk people into it. I'm not, talking them into hiring us, but I say, if you're going to do it well. If you're going to invest in yourself, invest in yourself. Don't do it piecemeal and hope it's going to all work out.
This is not the place to cut corners.
No.
It really isn't. I mean, I can't tell you how many really well-known individuals who people listening to right now, their names, they've signed these great big huge deals, but they didn't have proper legal representation. So today they're broke, or today they've got fame, but they ain't got a bank account because they didn't hire proper legal representation. They use somebody who is an attorney, but didn't specialize in that, or they try to get a bargain by having somebody's friend do it, and they end up paying the price.
They do. You're totally right. We've had, I'll give you an example again, without naming names. We represented a big social media person who was very, very successful in a lawsuit. And this lawsuit was multi-million dollars at stake. And the contracts that were underlying that deal, might as well have been written by my 9-year-old. I mean, they didn't spend any time or energy putting the deals together properly. And it resulted in a lawsuit that cost everybody, and not just money, but I think you'll appreciate this, time. I think, especially when you're an entrepreneur and your business is your business, you're not in the business of litigation. You're not in the business of being in court. Like, that's my business, and I still, even though it's my business, I try to keep people out of it because it's miserable. It takes all of your time. So if you could avoid that, you'd be doing yourself a favor that you would never, ever regret.
Yeah. Well, while we're on the subject of, protecting ourselves and liability, I think a lot of people in the audience also wonder about business insurance and maybe even liability insurance. Are those things you recommend, and at what stage?
Sure. And yeah, look, insurance is always a great thing to have. Back to your point from a minute ago, peace of mind, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's important. And again, I'm not an insurance broker or an expert in that field either, but a lot of what we do ends up involving insurance, right? When you see these claims, and I've seen very good established companies, by the way, have insurance, but not the right kind. Like if you're a manufacturing business, for example, and you manufacture a product, well, you want to have product insurance. You want to have product liability insurance. You want to have insurance that covers potential defects in manufacturing, right? So it's not just having insurance, but it's having the right kind. Now, again, not necessary right out of the gate. If you're just starting this thing and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to try out a couple sales, you're probably not going to have to worry about insurance. But if you, for example, if you're making products and you're starting to generate some momentum, it's worth looking into. And it's probably less expensive than you think it is. It's scary to think about insurance, but you should have it. If you're a trainer, for example, let's just say you're a personal trainer. Well, you gave an example earlier. What if somebody drops a weight on their toe? Well, they might be a friend, but guess what? Everyone's a friend until they decide to sue you, right?
Oh my gosh.
And so these things happen, right? Right.
I said, tweet that one out.
It's so true. I can't tell you how many lawsuits I've seen where they're like, I never thought anybody, well, you're right. They wouldn't until that one person does. And so if you're giving advice, if you have a service you're providing, if you're selling products, those are all things that can lead to claims, right? You didn't tell me the right way to do it. You didn't instruct me. I got hurt. Your product didn't work. I got hurt from your product. So those are all things that you have to think about. And back to what we talked about at the outset, if you're not an LLC or somehow incorporated, those liabilities are yours. They come at you, So if it's Chalene Johnson doing business as personal trainer at home or in-home personal training, when they sue you, they sue Chalene Johnson. And that means all of your assets, all of your things that you own personally, homes, cars, those things are all subject to judgments. So insurance is a great way to protect against that. Even if you're on your own, you can get insurance as a sole proprietor, but the better way to do it is set up an entity and then get insurance for the entity. It's a double protection, and it's smart to do.
And it's far less expensive than what people realize.
People oftentimes watch like shows like LA Law. They may be great. I mean, I'm dating myself now because I think LA Law has been on TV for 30 years. But you watch these programs, and these programs are great because in a lawsuit on the show, it starts and ends within 30 minutes to an hour. It wraps up in a tight bow and it's done. And most people, I think, assume lawsuits work that way. But when you get sued, it doesn't work that way. Lawsuits can drag on for 2-3 years. Lawsuits can cost several $100,000s or more, depending upon the issue. They could be millions. So even a small suit, when you think about if I'm a small business, if somebody sues me, I can't control it. I have to defend myself. And I've got a client like this for right now, for example. It's a frivolous suit. He's named as a defendant. He can't control it. He has to go through it. We're going to trial next month. He's going to, when we've been streamlining it, but it's still going to be a $50,000 to $75,000 expense. Even if he wins, he's not going to get that money back.
That's
and
right.
It could have been covered if he had insurance, and he didn't. It's an example of, unfortunately, a bad decision at the outset. But litigation's expensive. It's time consuming. So when you balance that against, setting yourself up properly and getting insurance, I'd rather spend a few grand at the outset than 300,000 in 2 years of my life down the road.
It's so much more affordable.
Yeah, and it's super fun to hang out with me in a lawsuit, but I'd rather have phone conversations that involve something else, right?
That's awesome. Well, speaking of which, every state is a little different.
Yep.
Do you offer services to people who are outside of the state of California?
That's a yes and no. So we've helped people set up entities in different states. My firm is I'm licensed in California, Georgia, and Florida. So I could technically be a lawyer in any of those states if you needed it. But generally speaking, we don't provide legal services in those states. So if you came to me, for example, and said, listen, I want to set up a different business, or like Brock, for example, wanted to set up a company in Washington, we can handle that, the establishment of the LLC or the corporation. But to the extent you wanted a lawyer to advise you on legal issues for your business, the business operations in that state, you'd need to hire counsel in that state.
Okay, but just to clarify then, are you saying that setting up an LLC, you could do that for someone in any state?
Correct.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, correct. We do that for clients in all different states because again, that's not getting the forms registered. It's more of a procedural kind of thing than a legal advice kind of thing. So these are technical terms I'm giving you, but we're happy to help anybody anywhere get them set up.
Last question.
Yep.
I have so many friends who either went to law school. It just feels like entrepreneurs, like 50% of them were like, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, or they're like, I was a lawyer and then I decided I wanted to be a business owner. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's a great question. And my wife, we joke about it. I've been a lawyer for 24 years. I've been trying not to be a lawyer for about 23 of those years, but it's kind of what I do. I think it's interesting, like most businesses that people get into. And I think one of the reasons people are now so driven to do their own thing is, we grow up thinking that a profession is a certain way, whether it's from TV, movies, or who knows why.
True.
And I think for me personally, growing up, being a lawyer seemed like a pretty cool thing, right? You get to go to court and you get to put on a show for a jury, and you get to, have this aha moment that everybody holds their breath.
Right.
And you think that's going to be the case. And it's unfortunately not quite as cracked up to be. Trials are still fun, but you come to learn that trials happen far less frequently. Most cases settle. The getting to trial is a little bit annoying and can be very tedious. But I think for most lawyers that I've talked to, they get into it kind of thinking it's one way. Very early on, they realize it's not quite as advertised. They want to go a different direction. And everybody has their own experience. I know lawyers who love being lawyers.
Yeah,
I know some people who are just, they're so in love with it that I can't even talk to them about it anymore.
that's awesome.
But I think it's a good, it's a good foundational education. And I think a lot of the things you learn in law school help you approach problems in a way that maybe you could apply to different industries and maybe be a little happier. And I can't complain. Like I said, I've been fortunate to be pretty content in my career at this point. But again, I think every lawyer who is a lawyer kind of wishes he or she were something else, you know?
That's fun. That's honest. Well, Erik, thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate you, and we'll have to have you back.
Thanks, Lynn. I appreciate it. You have a good day.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. And everybody who's looking, please make sure to check our show notes. That's where you can get in contact with Erik and his firm. And as I said, we'll put a few other helpful links in there to help those of you who are navigating this process as a new entrepreneur, making yourself official.